These conspiracy theories will keep you up at night. Now, there's a few different conspiracy theories here, but I am going to tread lightly because for one, I think most of what people are talking about when it comes to Wicked is that they're talking about the cast's bodies before and after Wicked and saying that the women have lost a lot of weight, which personally, I feel like commenting on that is not really helping the situation. Like, we don't know these people personally. They obviously have people in their lives that love them. And if any of these ideas were true, or if there was something wrong, or if there is something wrong, I'm sure they have people in their lives that would take care of that. And so sometimes I think a lot of the commentary around it just does more harm than good because it's not fun to read comments about your body. I've dealt with that for years. But that being said, I think a lot of people think that something very traumatic happened on the set of Wicked, or that something in general was happening here to cause weight loss. Personally, I don't think that there's necessarily something specific dark going around with Wicked, but with Hollywood in general. This has honestly been a problem since the beginning of Hollywood. And a lot of it honestly low-key did start in Oz because Judy Garland was called a fat pig in pigtails and was forced on a diet of cigarettes and chicken broth, basically. So I don't really think it has anything to do with Wicked in particular. It's kind of just the societal pressures of Hollywood because we see so many different stars struggle and it's hard. It's hard to watch. But what I do think is interesting is how much Ariana and Cynthia are fucking crying. I love it. It cracks me up, but I do have some theories about it. So a lot of people think Ariana and Cynthia's relationship is extremely strange. Some people have leaned into the conspiracy theory that they are secretly in love or in a relationship. I like that theory because that's fun and fresh, but other people have a little bit of a darker theory that Cynthia is secretly Ariana's caretaker or handler, which we'll go into that. But what I will say is I think the reason that they cry in every single interview, besides being genuinely emotional about the film and about living their dreams, I do think it's bringing them more press. So yeah, it's any person who does press tours and they say a certain thing or do a certain thing, they're gonna keep doing that if that's what gives them traction. And again, I think it started out innocently, not gonna lie, because I just saw Wicked for Good and Ariana's crying that whole damn movie, and I know you could just tell they're her actual tears. So that girl's a crier. She's been a crybaby for a while, okay? And nothing wrong with that. Me too. But I do feel like it has been taken to another level. It almost does feel performative in ways, how emotional Cynthia and Ari get together and holding hands 24/7 and crying. It's a little stunning to see every single interview and they're just crying in it. It's a little silly, but some people take darker turns on it and think that they're doing drugs together or that they have a really bad codependent relationship. I honestly don't know, and I don't know that it really helps them to speculate, but I do think it's an interesting theory that Cynthia's Ariana's handler, especially after watching the way Cynthia reacted when Ariana got attacked in Singapore. I just think that there's something about Ariana and Cynthia's dynamic that people just can't wrap their heads around. To be fair, if you've ever been a musical theater kid, I do think that this is a little bit common. They are a little bit older to be going through this with someone at this age, but I will say I understand why people can't stop talking about it because it definitely has gotten to a point where it's okay, they're crying again. I get it. I totally do. I've loved Ariana for over a decade. So I know that this has been her lifelong dream, but it is getting to the point where it's a little funny to see them cry every 2 seconds. I'm just girls, it's okay. But I also get it, But a lot of people have a darker conspiracy theory that Cynthia is actually Ariana's handler and she was assigned to manage her behavior, guide her transformation, and maintain control at a deeper psychological level. The celebrity handler theory is honestly not really anything new, but I thought this concept was interesting because it is weird to see such a codependent relationship. I think the way that they answer things, the way that they cry and hold hands every 2 seconds, it is a little bit strange. But in my opinion, I think it makes a little bit more sense for it to be playing it up for the cameras so that people will want to go see the movie. That's kind of my opinion because I just don't really think the celebrity handler theory makes that much sense. I think if anything, there could be two reasons for why they act the way they do. I think one, they have a really codependent relationship with each other that probably is not necessarily the healthiest thing, or two, which I kind of lean more towards, I think authentically they probably did start the press tour and it brought up a lot of emotions because they were working on their dream and now it's like over. Like imagine working on something for 4 years and then it's just done. And like it is emotional. Like I always think that anytime I see a TV show end after like 10 seasons, all of that stuff, it's of course emotional. So I think that the emotions were natural at first, but then because that was getting so much press and the holding space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity, like that whole thing, I just feel like it does make sense that maybe they played it up for the cameras a little after a certain point, you know? To me, that's the most logical theory, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this because a lot of people have been asking me to talk about it, but again, I feel like it's a situation where you need to tread kind of lightly because I don't know. It's again, something that I've experienced on the internet at obviously a very smaller scale is people like commenting on my body and all that stuff. Like it's like not fun to listen to in any regards. And like I get that people are concerned for them. I understand that, but your concern and you talking about it is not like helping them. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, if there's something wrong, if there's something different about them, like their friends and family know that. I really do believe that they are aware of the situation, if there is one. And I don't think they became aware of it because people on the internet were talking about it, if that makes sense. But nonetheless, I want to hear you guys' thoughts overall. What do you guys think of it? I feel like this press tour has been even like more emotional and like Ari and Cynthia have just been like attached at the hip. And again, I get it. I have so many amazing like female friendships in my life, but I feel like they are just playing it up. But let me know your thoughts. And Ariana's a freaking Cancer. She cries every 2 seconds. Me too. I'm not a Cancer. I'm an Aquarius, but I have a Cancer moon. And I know that shit makes you fucking cry because I do cry about everything, unfortunately. But let us know your thoughts. All right, the next conspiracy theory that keeps me up at night and gives me an existential crisis is that AI is going to take over and it's getting a lot darker than you think. So interestingly, I recently just talked about how I feel like people are going to start replacing their dead loved ones with AI. Well, not replacing them, but like using AI to be able to, you know, feel like they have their family members again. And I do think this is problematic because I feel like at some point it gets weird and twisted and that we kind of won't really care as much when people die. And also I think it could create really codependent relationships between a person and an AI system, which is obviously concerning because that's already happening even when the AI system isn't pretending to be your dead grandma. You know what I mean? But interestingly, I talked about it and then Callum Worthy, who is Des from Austin and Ally, I don't know if you remember, he's made an app called Two Way, and it's basically an AI app, but the way that they sell it and like the, you know, commercial for it was really showing that you could connect with and talk to your dead relatives, but they're literally just AI. But it looks like you're FaceTiming your grandma and she's reacting to things in real time, how she would react, which is so fucking weird. Cause I don't know, it's just so trippy to me. And I think it's way worse than we think. Like I have said for a very long time that I feel like AI is already at a point of no return, but like the fact that there are no regulations on it really is very scary because I also think that it's going to not only trick us into thinking that things are real, but tricking us into thinking that things are AI, which to me is even scarier of a concept. Like if somebody does something horrible and then they're just like, that's not real, that's AI. Like not having government officials or celebrities be able to take accountability for things because they could just say that it wasn't real, which again is kind of a concern. And I just think the whole two-way app and talking to dead relatives just takes this theory to another level because it is so freaking creepy to be like, I understand there's certain scenarios where stuff like this can help people. Like you could even look at mediums in that way, like psychic mediums, like maybe it would be or feel helpful for a medium to tell you that your loved one is okay and has passed on to like a better place. But that's like different because it's like obviously so much of a smaller pool and less accessible. AI is too accessible for this. Like I think this would take people who are mourning a loss of someone and completely ruin their life. Like we've all seen people mourn horrible deaths in their lives. Imagine taking someone at their most vulnerable position and kind of just having them essentially pretend like their person isn't really dead. And I think that's really scary. Like, I don't think you understand how scary it is. I genuinely stay up at night thinking about this because I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, this could ruin people's lives, genuinely, like send them into psychosis. And I don't fucking like that. There's already been examples of this. And again, like, I do think, like, yeah, the concept of AI taking jobs and all of that stuff is bad too. But the fact that it's so accessible to literally everyone to use, and there are people who are not mentally capable of experiencing something like AI and experiencing something like their dead loved one talking to them, because that's where it gets a little dicey. Like, I don't know. It reminds me of like when Kim Kardashian, like for her birthday, Kanye had a hologram of her father talking. And again, like a one-time thing. And for some people, like, I do think it could be comforting or sweet to see, but it could easily, very easily go a very dark route for a lot of people. And I think that's what scares me so much and just has me thinking about it, because I'm just worried for the people that are going to be affected by it. And it's honestly really sad. But before we get into the rest of the conspiracy theories, I want to thank Uncommon Goods for sponsoring today's video. Uncommon Goods makes it so easy to come up with thoughtful, personalized gifts that are actually like very interesting and unique to the person that you're trying to give a gift to. I've been using Uncommon Goods in my personal life for years at this point. Anytime a birthday or anniversary or holiday comes around, it's the first place I go to look for gifts, especially for my dad, which good thing he doesn't watch my YouTube videos, because we're going to show you what I got him today. I always get him things from Uncommon Goods because I feel like dads are so hard to shop for specifically. I don't know if that's just me, but my dad loves beer and barbecuing. And Uncommon Goods had these IPA infused, like beer infused rubs, which I got my dad for Christmas, and he's going to be obsessed. I think this is such a cool idea. And it's so interesting. And again, very, very unique and niche. Like, there's so many different niche categories on Uncommon Goods. There's honestly something for literally everyone. Also, Uncommon Goods is just a very good ethical company to purchase from. Every purchase you make, they give back $1 to a nonprofit. And to date, they've donated over $3 million to various nonprofits, which I just think is great. Also, when you shop on Uncommon Goods, you are supporting different artists and independent businesses, and a lot of their products are handcrafted. I seriously couldn't recommend Uncommon Goods enough, especially if you like getting people very unique and personalized gifts that is just something so niche. Like, what is more niche than this? I'm not even kidding. My dad's obsessed with IPAs and he loves to barbecue. Like, how does this exist? It's just perfect. I don't know. If you guys want to make your holiday season unforgettable with Uncommon Goods, you can click the link in the description box below or scan this QR code to get 15% off of your next order. Without further ado, let's get back into the conspiracy theories. So there's been a conspiracy theory for a while that Kim Kardashian is using her money to try and figure out how to live forever, maybe a dramatic extent, but at least live for longer than what we intend as normal. I do feel like Kim has an obsession with archiving herself in general. Like, she keeps all of her old clothes that she wore, like in a specific like warehouse. Like, she's very meticulous about certain things. So I do think to a digital extent, she is genuinely doing this and trying to make sure that like her likeness and her voice and her face, an AI model version of her, her image rights, her wealth, her brand in general, continue on after she's no longer here. I do think that that's like genuinely happening, but the conspiracy side of it is, do I think that she's using her money to look for a way to live longer? 100%. They're all using their money in ways to look younger. But what's the point of looking younger if you can't live longer? Just saying. I do think that a lot of celebrities might be involved in this, and this is like a little tinfoil hat, so bear with me. But the concept of preserving people's like identity, memories, and like stuff like that and data in general, so that in the future, when humans can upload consciousness into digital systems, like people think that that's going to be able to be a thing, you'll basically like kind of come back to life in a way, or have a very realistic version of yourself. Or maybe she's thinking of that in regards to her family members, etc. It's definitely a very interesting concept, and I do think people with a lot of money, like, why wouldn't you try to figure that out? I don't know. I just think that the Kardashians are like really obsessed with image and looking young, that it makes sense to me that they would also be trying to focus on how they could stay even mentally young in ways, or see if like something like uploading your consciousness could be a possibility in the future, and maybe investing in it now. And it's concerning. I think about it a lot. I think about what the fuck has these billionaires and trillionaires like come up with, like what ideas do they have? Like, what things have they invented or had scientists like research that could be life-changing to other people, but they're keeping it for themselves? I don't know. I want to hear your guys' thoughts because it really freaks me out. So a conspiracy theory that really freaks me out lately especially is the idea of lost celebrity tapes. And what I mean by this is essentially the fact that it's not really a conspiracy theory. I think it's 100% true. It kind of more keeps me up at night to think of who's involved. But basically there is a theory that's been floating around Hollywood forever, talking about there being like a private vault with a bunch of celebrities, politicians, and other influential people doing terrible things on camera, like real tapes of them, video files or recordings, archives just hidden away in these private vaults to be used against them for blackmail. And we literally saw this happening with P. Diddy. We know with like his freak-offs, there was like a vault of different tapes of this actually happening. And now we're seeing it live in real time with the Jeffrey Epstein files and the potential of the president, Donald Trump, and former President Bill Clinton being involved in such a horrific crime. Like, and again, a lot of people are like, well, then why wasn't this released before? Why wasn't this that? And like, whatever. But I don't think you understand how dark it really goes and the level of blackmail and control and silence that these people can buy from having these vault files. Like, I do think that there's genuinely, like, probably not just one, but like a ton of celebrities who just have things constantly being used against them for blackmail. And it really freaks me out to think about it because I think it's probably worse than you imagine, truthfully. And I want to hear what you guys think because honestly, I don't feel like this is a conspiracy theory. I think it's true. Like, it definitely is, to an extent at least. And I kind of think it's even darker than we can imagine. The next theory that I'm really holding space for in my brain is the Disney mouseketeer mind program. So it's kind of the concept that Disney has their own like MK Ultra system for child stars. And I do think that this has some truth to it. For literally decades, there's been running jokes that Disney creates celebrities in a lab. And it's like kind of like a funny thing. Like, and people kind of talk about it like kind of as a joke, but it goes down a rabbit hole that is dark. Because again, for decades, Disney hasn't just produced movies and shows. They've produced so many stars and some of the most famous people to ever exist. So the Disney mouseketeer mind program theory is basically the theory that Disney, behind the scenes, trains, conditions, molds, and psychologically engineers children into being stars. And the reason that Disney would do something like this is because they would basically take a young performer and then turn them into the perfect celebrity that they want, which would be someone who's obedient and marketable, controllable, and highly profitable. And again, it's a pretty widely believed conspiracy theory that the Disney machine isn't just a metaphor, but it's actually a system that's genuinely happening. So this goes back to the Mickey Mouse Club. I feel like this was marketed as a wholesome all-American variety show for kids, but looking back on it, it really does have all the traits of a pipeline. There was very structured days, discipline, choreographed expression, rehearsed behavior, and emotional performance training for kids just 8 or 9 years old. And some of the biggest stars on earth came out of that program. Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, Ryan Gosling, like the list goes on. The conspiracy basically talks about the concept that the mouseketeer system is not just to teach kids how to sing and dance and be good performers, but really how to be obedient and have a Disney approved identity. Because Disney really wanted each of their stars to be a product, someone that they could sell. And that's what they did and what they still do to this day. I think some people take the mouseketeer theory a little bit further and compare it to MK Ultra and talk about how Disney is like mind controlling these kids and basically manipulating them into being the perfect star for them, but like using kind of darker tactics like drugs or different psychological tactics to make them conform to what they want. And I don't know if I necessarily think that's true, but what I will say is they all have strict schedules, emotional coaching, personal development sessions, strict PR grooming. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard a Disney kid say something back to like a weird question or like a question that was, you know, could bring up drama. They just know how to divert questions so well. Their PR training is insane. Like, it's some of the most insane work that I've seen. And also Disney puts this pressure on them to have and maintain a relatable but perfect persona somehow, like, which obviously both things can't exist at once. And it has made a lot of stars in the past crack over it. Britney Spears has had her share of mental health issues. Lindsay Lohan, Demi Lovato, Miley Cyrus. Again, the list goes on with all of these Disney kids who had this pressure on them to be perfect, to be a role model, to be relatable, to have kids want to follow them and follow in their footsteps. That is a huge role to take on as a child, essentially, a young teenager. Some of these kids were. I think it is kind of psychologically manipulating them and setting them up for failure in a way. Also, a lot of ex-Disney stars have talked about their time on Disney and talked about being punished for crying, being told to smile through it, being forced to rehearse until their voices cracked. Like, again, I feel like when you combine the fame, the exhaustion, the emotional suppression, and the constant criticism, and the pressure on top of that to be perfect, you don't get a child star. You get this like product, essentially, and eventually it's going to break. And a lot of the times that's what happens. I don't know. Overall, I find this theory to be incredibly interesting, and I do think, again, there's a lot of truth to it, and it genuinely keeps me up at night because I like wanted to be an actor as a kid, but like I didn't really like do anything to pursue that or try to do anything. And I think about a lot how badly I wanted to be on a Nickelodeon show, and like specifically a Dan Schneider show as a kid. I grew up watching Drake and Josh, Joey 101, iCarly, and then to hear how traumatic the experience was is just so heartbreaking. And I can't even put into words how awful it must have been for the kids that experienced that. And I do think that it is happening a lot more than you think. And I think it's for a reason. I think it is to break them down and control them so that they can have a perfect product that sells. And at the end of the day, it's all about money. But let us know your thoughts overall. Anyway, that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what conspiracy theories have been keeping you up at night lately, and any conspiracy theories that you want me to talk about in the future and in future videos. Let me know. But that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and subscribe for new videos every week. And I will see you guys later. Bye.